Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Cow Podcast. My name is Tommy Crum, joined here by Donovan Kitchen. What? You like inhaled like you were gonna say something.
Oh no.
No. Today we're joined by Hannah Marsteller. We've had her, not we, but the Cow Podcast has had her here before, and we'll just be doing some follow-up questions after her season in Italy. So, first question, just kind of introduce yourself. What do you do here at SHIP, and what's going on?
Well, my name's Hannah, but everyone on the university knows me as Mars. So I'm Mars. I played softball here from 2018 to 2023, and I'm now the assistant softball coach for the university.
So yeah, and then obviously you were playing professionally in Italy for, was it just one season then?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
and then just kind of, if you want to go over some of your experiences playing there.
Yeah, so I went in the spring of 2024 in March, and it lasted for about, I would say, like 6 months I was there, so March to August. It was a surreal experience just playing and getting the opportunity to play again after college. That was the main thing for me. But also just a cultural experience. I've never been out of the country, so that was like definitely a culture shock to me.
Yeah.
But it was super fun, super, memories that I will hold on for a lifetime. So
That's awesome.
the experience was surreal.
Yeah.
So,
Definitely.
yeah.
Being in Italy, was it more of like a less of a financial burden than America, or was it
Cheaper? Or
Yeah, it was significantly cheaper,
Wow.
honestly.
Yeah.
Like, now, obviously, like, I did have the privilege to, like, have all of my expenses covered, so I wasn't paying for, my room and board and my flight to get over there. But the food there is significantly cheaper and obviously delicious.
Yeah.
So, and even though, like, obviously the opportunity to play professional doesn't come with a lot of money. It comes with, like, you want to go play softball. It's not all about the money. So I was getting paid, but it was a small stipend. But whatever I had was able to cover me. I was, going and traveling, getting my groceries, all of that. So it was definitely affordable, and I was able to balance all of it. So
more about the experience kind of thing.
yes,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
So like playing professionally, how did that differ from, playing in college, and then how did, the teams differ and how they were run and that kind of stuff?
So in terms of, honestly, it was a lot different than my college experience. My college experience was very intense, and the expectations were really high, and I feel like in Italy it was the same, but softball over there is not as common. So it's very much a developing and growing sport over there, so I think they still have a lot that they, are continuing to learn and develop. So in terms of, like, my practices and stuff, they were very laid back. It was more so like, let's do defense, let's do offense, do what you need to do. And then pitchers and catchers obviously had a separate practice as well. But I think in terms of intensity, it was still the same. So the level of competition, very similar to the Division II level, I would say. And then you obviously got some other foreign players that they would bring in from other countries, mostly from the United States, because that's such a popular sport here. You would face some good competition, but it was still really good competition, really intense. I would just say, honestly, the practices were not the same as college, so a little bit less structure, I would say.
It's like a little more laid back kind of thing, like you're expected to do stuff on your own.
Right, and I mean, you guys being college athletes, like, you have a strict schedule.
Yeah.
Like, it was very much not like that. You had practice every day, but then with the remaining time, like, you kind of did what you wanted to do. If you wanted to do extra, you could do that on your own. You could go and lift on your own if you wanted to also.
Gotcha.
So it's kind of like you decide how good you want to be. If you want to go to practice and you just do practice and that's fine, you don't lift, and, like, you're kind of deciding,
And I think what benefited me was, like, how much structure I had here at SHIP for softball and the expectations that I had here, and also just the expectation I have for myself. Like, I have extremely high expectations for myself. So for me, like, I went over there with the same approach that I did in college. Like, I'm going to go there, practice, but I'm also going to do all the extra stuff too, because I wanted to be successful.
Yeah.
So
Get the most out of it.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I would agree. Obviously, we all have teammates, right? Were there any challenges getting along with teammates in Italy? Maybe like a language barrier or just differences in everyday life, you know?
Yeah, I mean, their lifestyle is very different. It's a little bit slower paced than here. I feel like Americans are like, we have a million things to do in one day and it's go, go, go.
Yeah,
And that is, and even as a student athlete, that was the lifestyle I was in, like, pretty much adapted to. So going over there, that was the biggest thing, was like having so much time and like so much to do with your day. Like, it wasn't bam, bam, bam. You had like all these things in a row. It was like you had practice and that's it. And I would say the language was difficult at the beginning. I picked up here and there, but I was definitely not fluent for sure. But when I was over there, like, I was fortunate to have a lot of Italians know English.
Yeah.
So, and I think just because English and just the culture is extremely popular worldwide in society. So it was nice that they were able to communicate with me still. But there were some people that I needed, like, translation. We had to communicate that way. There was one other American with me, so we lived together with another Italian, and all of us, obviously the Italian knew English. We were all able to communicate really well. So I was super fortunate in that aspect. It wasn't like I was left in the dark and no one could talk to me. So, but it was hard. Like, I had to figure out how to go and communicate, even just go places by myself. Like, if I needed to go to the store, I had to go by myself. So, and that was a really big challenge for me. But
so, like, your coaches and stuff, were they Italian also? Or I know you mentioned that, you know, some of your teammates were American also, but what about the coaches?
The coaches were a mix. So at the beginning, in my experience, I had an American head coach.
Okay.
So she had done a similar thing where she came over from college and played overseas, and then she just stayed there. So I had an American coach, which was beneficial for me.
Yeah.
Just in the beginning process, and then they transitioned into a different coach. She was Italian, but she had a daughter that played in the United States, so she was very fluent in English, which was nice. So overall, like, it was less of a language barrier than I thought it was going to be because of how many people knew how to speak English.
Yeah, definitely.
So, yeah.
What was the public transport like? What was like getting to practice every day, getting back home? Like, what was that like for you?
Fortunately, the Italian that lived with us, she had a car, so we drove to practice. But if I wanted to go anywhere, like when she wasn't there or she couldn't take me, I rode my bike.
Yeah.
They provided bikes for us, and then I walked a lot. So that was another big thing about Italy and the difference of America, is that people have cars there for sure, but
a lot of walking.
A lot of walking, a lot of riding your bike, a lot of taking the bus, taking the train. They're very, very into public transportation. So, I mean, even some of the athletes on the team, like, they were old enough to drive. They didn't have cars because they could get places with the public transportation. So that was super weird to me because we all, like, grew up having cars, like, in high school. So.
And then, you know, not everyone lives in a big city like that where public transportation is, like, readily available to you.
Yeah.
Especially, like, a
Here.
place like here. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, here you're driving everywhere.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
No, that's nice that you're not too far away. You could still walk to the practice facility and whatnot.
Yep.
So, when you were in Italy, what were some of the most mentally challenging moments that you had to endure?
I think the first one was actually getting there. Because, I mean, I committed to something that was, like, a huge commitment that I never thought in my life I would. It was, like, an uncomfortable commitment. Like, you didn't know what you were going to expect. And it was a big risk for me personally. So I think getting there was the hardest part. And then once I was there, I think navigating, like, building relationships with, like, someone that maybe doesn't speak your language, or being over there and being so far away from home. Like, I was like over the ocean, which was crazy to think about.
Yeah, literally.
But yeah, so I think that was my biggest struggle, was being away from my family.
Yeah.
And I did struggle for like the first 2 months there, but I think it was awesome. I had an incredibly welcoming team. Like they were very inclusive. They, allowed me to join their family, and especially like when holidays came around, that was hard for me. Yeah. So I was able to do that. So that I was super, super happy that I had such an inclusive team and they included me. So, yeah.
Was your family ever able to come visit you, or did you ever go back at any point, or was it just you stayed in Italy the whole time?
So I never went back, but my family did come to me because I think they were like, this is the only time we're going to actually go to Italy because you're here. Yeah. So my fiance, which at the time was my boyfriend, which we got engaged in Italy, which was really cool.
Yeah.
He came and visited me first. And then my parents came, and then my sister came. So it was nice having visitors because I think it kind of breaks up the time.
Yeah.
But at the beginning, like, I was there for 3 months before anyone came and saw me. So those 3 months were a bit difficult. Yeah. But I was super, super fortunate to have my parents have the ability to come and not just see me, but they came and watched me play too. So that was cool.
Yeah. So, we watched the first podcast that you came on a couple years ago, and then you mentioned that you were from D.C., actually. And so we were just wondering if, them being big cities, I guess, I don't know how big the city you were in Italy was, but if there was any, like, similarities or differences between, where you're from and, where you were playing softball and, how did that, changing scenery kind of affect you?
Honestly, it wasn't that different. If anything, I would describe Colecchio as Shippensburg. Like, really? It was very rural. Yeah. And obviously, like, when I think of Italy, like, you think of Rome and you think of the big cities, and it was not like that. Now, the biggest difference is that even though it's a small city, there was still so many people living there, because I think, one, you, like, think about the United States and you're like, oh, it seems like an old country. Italy's even older.
Way older,
it's like BC time. So you're like, this has been around for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. And like the amount of people that live in Italy was crazy. Yeah. So I think that was the biggest difference. Even though we lived in a small city, there was still so many people that lived there. But other than that, like I lived in basically the country. Like it was very much Shippensburg-esque. So it wasn't a huge difference. I think there was more of a difference when I went into like the big cities, like when I visited Rome or Florence or Venice. Like it was big, but there were so many people, and like you couldn't drive. That's why a lot of people chose to walk, because it was crowded. Impossible. Yeah.
Like New York. Yeah.
Yes, yes. So honestly, not a big difference though in terms of like what I was used to living like in the DC area. Yeah. So. Yeah,
that's what I was telling him before you got here. Actually, we were talking. I went to Germany a couple years ago, and you don't realize how old like some of the European countries are. It's crazy.
Yeah, and like the history, like you think about America, and you're like, oh, we're, I don't know, almost 300, 400 years old, whatever, and you're like, wow, that seems pretty old. But like they literally have BC in like some of their buildings. I'm like, this is crazy.
Yeah, when I went there, we were walking, and we saw this building that was still standing, still functioning. It was made out of like mud and straw from like 1300 something. That's 400 years older than our whole country.
Like, their construction over there, I'm like, I don't know how your buildings are withstanding, but good job.
Could you tell that it was a little older from like the architecture and like the buildings and whatnot?
And the roads, like the roads, especially when I visited Rome, the roads were like rough. Cobblestone.
Oh, yeah.
And that was super cool. Like, that was really cool. But trying to drive on those, like, was rough. But
like a nightmare.
It was, like, a good combination, like, of old and new. So, like, they definitely, like, refurbished some areas for sure. But, like, just the history was so cool because you could just see it in the buildings. Like, that was really cool.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
So, you mentioned you were there for 6 months. Did you ever feel like you adjusted and it felt like home, or was it just kind of like, I'm in a new place for 6 months, you know?
I feel like it got to that. So like I would say the first 2 months, like from March and April, it felt really weird being there, and like it took me a while to adjust to the lifestyle. And then like especially when we were like starting to play a lot, so we started playing the end of March, but practices and playing, that was like pretty busy. I don't feel like it ever felt like home to me.
Yeah.
Not in a bad way. Like, it for sure was an incredible experience, and I would do it all over again. But, like, the 6 months I was there was, like, the perfect time.
Yeah.
Like, if I stayed any longer, I feel like I would have definitely got more homesick and maybe not enjoyed myself as much towards the end. But, yeah, I mean, there was definitely, like, an adjustment period where I felt incredibly comfortable. So, but it did take me 2 months just to adapt to that. So...
Gotcha.
Yeah, and like 6 months is not a long time.
No,
You
I
know?
mean, you think about it, you're like, wow, that's half a year. Like, that is a long time. But, like, in the grand scheme of things, like, I mean, 6 months out of, you know, if I lived there for multiple years, like, that's nothing.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
exactly.
So are you you're retired, you're done playing softball then, or?
Yeah, I'm done. I think that this was, like, exactly what I needed, though. So... And in the last podcast, I talked about my struggles and transitioning out of being a college athlete. And that was incredibly hard because you invest so much time and energy, like pretty much for almost 20 years of your life. And then it's like over.
Yeah.
And you know, you never think it's going to be over until like your last game or your last meet or whatever. And you're like, wow, like I'm not a college athlete anymore. And for me, like, I had an incredible experience here. And so I hold on to that and the memories and all the good times and the bad times. Like, I hold on to it. And I think what I needed was, like, knowing that I could get to this next level and play professional. Like, that was always a dream and a goal of mine.
Yeah.
And then once I got there and I experienced it, it was like, okay, like, I feel like I have closure now. Like, I feel like this is the best way I could end my career is here.
Right.
And me knowing, like, I was still going to come back and help. Like, I still wanted softball to be in my life. So that gave me a lot of, like, a sense of relief, you know, like, that even though my career's over, I still have, you know, the start of a new career of now being in this different role.
Yeah.
Right.
So it didn't feel like quitting. It didn't feel, yes, it was retirement, because now I'm too old to play. But it felt like closure, which was nice.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, 20 years, like, that's 90% of your life. How hard was it to, like, step back and be like, man, I gotta call it at some point, you know?
Yeah, it was hard. And especially that transition period from, like, college into, like, that weird time where I was still trying to play professional, but, like, I was waiting for the opportunity.
Yeah.
And also coaching the team that I played for, like, barely 4 months prior to stopping was hard, mentally for sure. Like, being around all of my old teammates and now being their coach, like, that was hard. But I think it was good to, like, step out of that and be a part of something new. And then after experiencing that, I was like, this is the best, like, way to end my career. So, yeah.
Bittersweet for sure.
Yeah, it's bittersweet for sure. Absolutely.
So yeah, we mentioned before that we watched the first time that you came on. You mentioned that you were, you know, interested in becoming an AD or kind of like working your way up the ladder. And then is that something you're still interested in, maybe looking to do?
Yeah, it's definitely kind of like in the back of my head for sure. It's something that I think I need to develop a lot of professionalism for, like a lot of opportunities. But right now my main goal is to get experience as an assistant coach and eventually be a head coach for college.
Okay.
So that's kind of my plan right now. I don't plan on leaving Shippensburg for a while.
Right.
I feel like this is a good start for me to be a part of a program that I was once a part of and now the coach, and being underneath Coach Allie, somebody who I trust incredibly. Like, I have a lot of trust in her, and the way that she coaches, like, this is who I want to learn from. So assistant coaching for probably 5-ish years, and then hopefully build up that experience to be a head coach somewhere.
Okay. Yeah. Seems like you got a good plan, good
Yes,
structure. You know?
yes.
5-year plan.
Yeah.
Definitely. On the first podcast, you guys talked a lot about failure. Not to say that the past 4 or 5 years have been a failure, but what have you learned from your failures in the past couple years?
I mean, I always tell my athletes, like, we fail so we learn. And I would say, like, there was a lot of, and I don't even want to call them failures. I want to call it, like, challenges. Like, there was a lot of mental challenges that I struggled with in softball. And I'm sure you guys relate being athletes. Like,
Absolutely.
it is a huge mental part.
Yeah.
And being able to navigate that and be strong in that is hard. And to be consistent. So I would say I learned, because me being someone with high expectations and who's I'm a perfectionist, and I have incredibly, like I said, high expectations for myself. Like, I learned that it doesn't have to be that way every single day. Like, you're able to, not be 100%. Like, some days are 75, some days are 20, some days are 110, like, there are days where you learn and you realize, like, and you learn and you realize that those mental things, they make you stronger, but at the end of the day, like, they don't define you as a person. And I think, like, I'm trying to tell my athletes now, like, the mental game is so important, but it's not who you are collectively as an athlete.
Absolutely.
So that's the biggest thing that I learned, is how to let go of things and not hold on to them. And I think that made me stronger mentally. So my biggest challenge as an athlete was the mental part, being in your head and all of that. But overall, like, I felt as I matured in sports and I learned, I was able to grow and kind of let go of that, but still take care of myself too. I think that's also the biggest part, is athletes need to learn how to take care of themselves and not, you're going 100% and your expectation is to be 100% all the time, that they forget that they're humans and that outside, like, there is more than just sports.
The athlete.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's kind of hard to differentiate it sometimes, though, because, it's like you said, it takes up so much of your time and so much of your life that it's like it can in some ways be, I guess, indicative of the way you feel about yourself and I guess your mental health and all that. I know certainly we've all had our fair share of struggles, and it's definitely hard to differentiate.
Yeah, and that's why I think it's important that, like, coaches are now talking about mental health too, because it is such a big part of our athletic society. Like, it's taken a huge, like, I feel like, jump, like, compared to how we were when we were 12.
Exactly.
No one was ever talking about that with us. But yeah, I like to tell my athletes, like, you are more than just a softball player, and if today's not your day, that's okay. Like, do whatever you can, like, to do your very best. But everybody looks different, and it's not just one expectation. It's one expectation, but it's not just, like, every day that's what you have to do. Yeah. Like, there's that flexibility within there. Like, it's okay to be low and it's okay to be high, So.
Yeah, like you said, I mean, you're not just a softball player. Like, you're not just a runner. You're not just a football player. In 4 to 5 years, the chances are you're not going to have that in your life anymore. You're lucky enough to be coaching and doing what you love, which is awesome. I mean, some people aren't going to be as fortunate, and they have to, go work a desk job.
Right. Right.
But so I think that's very important for athletes to realize that you are not just an athlete, you have to
athlete.
Exactly. So
and preparing them for life, like, there is, I wish, like, I would do my whole college experience 10 times over, because I just had a really, really good experience. But again, not everybody has that same experience, and it's why you need to prepare them for, like, the outside world. Because, again, at the end of the day, it's over, like, in 4 or 5 years, and then you're like, what the heck am I supposed to do?
It's just
So,
Then I don't know if this was a part of the podcast last time you were on, but we end with like a Chat GPT question. And
I
so,
love Chat GPT.
Yeah, don't we all? No,
never used it before except for this.
Yeah, definitely. But no, the question we asked ChatGPT is basically just like the same, one of the ones that we ask you, and then kind of like compare and contrast and get your thoughts on it. But the one that we asked it was, what are some positives and negatives of living overseas as an American? And then for it says positives, it says cost of living. I know you touched on that a little bit about, the food and all that was a lot cheaper. And then it gives you the opportunity to learn a new language. You touched on that also about, just having the opportunity there. And then adventure and personal growth is the other one.
Yeah, I mean, especially, I didn't touch on that last one too much, but, like, I am a way different person, and I have a way different perspective after being in Italy. Like, the things that they do versus what we do, and I think, like, there is things I took from there and, like, implemented in my life, Like, they are incredibly passionate, family-oriented people, and they do, like, take the time to take care of themselves, and they live a slower life. Yeah. And that's not everyone there. Like, there's obviously people that are on the grind out there, but they don't let all the little inconveniences affect the big picture, which was something I was like, wow, like, that's really nice to see. It's, like, refreshing to see, because I feel like as Americans, we are incredibly, like, perfectionists, and we're trying to do everything right, and with our busy days, one inconvenience in our life is like, oh my gosh, this feels like the end of the world sometimes. So that was a perspective for sure. And just like the mental health aspect, like, take the time that you need. Like, if today's not your day, like, that's okay. Don't beat yourself up about it. They had it. I just felt like everybody felt that way over there. Like, they were very accepting of all of that. So, which was nice. And I feel like I definitely grew as a person just being over there culturally. So, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely something that we can all take. One mistake is
take
not
a step back.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
But, yeah, and then it went into negatives also. I think you touched on just about all of these also. So it said culture shock and homesickness, language barriers, and then social isolation. I know you said, a lot of your teammates, or not all of them, but you were roomed with another American, so I guess that helped in the social isolation aspect. But
yeah, I think that if it wasn't that way, it would have been really hard to, like, go out of my way, especially at the beginning, because you're uncomfortable. You're, like, not in your own house, you're not in your own bed, you're, like, everyone's speaking different language. Like, a lot of the times I would just sit there, because, like, they'd be talking to each other, and it was really cool to just hear them. But, like, there were times, like, I couldn't say anything because I had no idea what they were talking about, and that's totally fine. Like, I was fine doing that, but that was different for me, especially being an outgoing person and being able to talk to anyone, and then going over there and feeling like
left out.
Yeah. And it wasn't even that they were leaving me out, but, like, they were just living their life, like, they had a completely different language. So, and there were times, like, I was like, I don't want you to adapt to me. Like, I still want you to be you and, talk in Italian and all of that. But I was super blessed to have some really awesome teammates that included me and would translate for me if I didn't understand, and never, inside I'm like, gosh, I feel like a burden because I'm asking them all the time, like, can you help me with this? Can you translate this? But they were awesome.
Yeah,
so
that's nice. Was it kind of like college where you room with some teammates? And then in some ways?
Yeah, kind of. So we actually lived with a host family. But they had their own separate house for us. So it was like we lived basically one house in one house, and they lived on this, like, little farm, which was cool.
Nice.
And so we lived, me, the other American, and then one of the Italian teammates that traveled from a different part of Italy to play. We lived in their, like, secondary house. Okay. So, it was very similar, like, living in a house in Shippensburg, like, with your teammates. Yeah. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
Did the host family, did they have anything to do with the softball team, or was it just like
their kids played. So like the organization was a baseball softball organization, so like their kids were involved in the organization, and they offered to host us, which was really awesome. That is pretty cool. So yeah.
All right. I think that's about all we have. I have one more question though. If you had to pick one, what would be your favorite, dish, your favorite food that you had in your time in Italy? Probably a lot to choose
I
from.
just know the
Yes,
question,
there are so
dude.
many. That is a really hard question
Yeah.
because I loved everything over there, even down to like the yogurt I would eat in the morning. Like it
Wow.
tasted so different. But I think there was this, I don't even know if I'm pronouncing this right, but there was this dish called tortelli, and it was basically like ravioli. Like it was stuffed ravioli, like cheese inside, and then they would put like garlic and olive oil and Parmesan on it. It was so good.
Oh yeah.
Any dish with pasta, I was down for.
Yeah.
Because I already
Absolutely.
love pasta in America.
And you go to
Going over
Italy.
there, I was like, yes, this is my dream.
You probably came back and was like, ah, man.
The best thing
Yeah.
was though, like you like think about the food over there and it's like so many carbs and like so much butter and like
yeah.
all of that,
yeah.
but it never once made me feel bad.
Mm-hmm.
I never felt sick or like felt like I was eating so many carbs, like I was gaining weight from it or anything like that. Like it, because they're so clean over
Yeah,
there.
it's all fresh.
Everything's fresh,
It's all
like
processed stuff.
nothing. Yeah, that was also something that I took over from that. Like I changed my diet completely, like to
Right.
whole, organic, like fresh foods, less processed stuff.
Yeah.
And I definitely noticed a difference.
Yeah.
You just feel better over there
Yeah,
eating that
definitely.
food. So,
Yeah, that's good.
but
And then I think this is the real last question now is if you want to, talk a little bit about the softball team, when the season starts.
Yeah.
I guess like how practice has been going so far.
yeah, well, I don't know if you guys did any research about our season last year, but
Very
we
good.
went
Yeah,
to
we
the
did.
World Series.
Yeah, I did.
We
Yeah.
had a historic season last year, so we're kind of just like picking right back up where we left
Yeah.
off. Obviously, those are still our goals. So we've been practicing every day since September 11th, I think, was
Okay.
when we started every single day. So we're about over a month in now of our fall season. We've played 2 scrimmages versus Mount St. Mary and UVA, and we have one more with Messiah. So our fall is kind of wrapping up. We're
Right.
towards the end, and then we go to like individual stuff and focus heavy on like strength and endurance. And then we'll come back in January, and our season starts February 28th.
Nice.
Nice.
So, yep.
All right.
Yeah, last year, I'm not too familiar with the softball team. But you guys didn't lose too many pieces, right, from last year?
We only lost, which was a huge piece, our veteran 4-year starter pitcher,
Right.
which is like
right.
a huge piece
That
of
is
our
huge.
team.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a big loss. So we have a young pitching staff this
Yeah.
year. And we have honestly a lot of young individuals in general, but I think we returned almost every single one of our veterans, like
awesome.
that were starters.
Yeah.
So minus our pitcher and our catcher.
Okay.
So catching and pitching, that's our main like fills this year.
Yeah.
So, but
Yeah,
I
definitely.
feel really good about where we're at. We've kind of really hit the fall hard, it's kind of that grind season where
Yeah.
you're just practicing and practicing and
Right.
practicing, and there's like no games, which kind of sucks.
Yeah.
But yeah, so our goals are definitely to pick up where we left off last year.
Absolutely.
So
Sounds good. Well, we'll be on the lookout then. We'll be rooting for you guys. But
We might be working a couple games, too.
Yeah,
probably
Bill.
will.
Yep.
Yeah.
yes,
absolutely.
Bill's my guy.
All right.
I
Well,
love him.
thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time.
Awesome.